Knock it up! Knock it up, Chad! Knock it up! Stop, Chad! Stop! No! No! Sorry, Corey. Oh, let's get the lights up here, Cor. What do you think? Ooh-wee! Wow. What's Corey doing way up there, everybody? Uncle Chad and Corny Cory hanging out. Hey, everybody. Hey. How's everybody doing? We're not reading a book tonight. We are going to do something a little bit different. Tonight is a night of political action. Pay no attention to this Nebraska Cornhuskers thing. Nebraska's 0-2, and they're actually being really disappointing this season. It's going on to the point now where they're starting to report fan apathy in Nebraska. Woo! Imagine that. Can you imagine that, Corey? No way! That's crazy! The Cornhusker Nation is flagging! Well, maybe a little bit, Corey. Maybe flagging a little bit. After 20 years of mediocrity, it's been since I was in Peace Corps that they were ranked first in the country. They got destroyed by the Colorado Buffaloes in the last game of the season back in 2001. And still went and played Miami for the national championship, and they shouldn't have been there. And it's been a slow bleed ever since. That's been almost 20 years ago. And when I went to college there, of course, again, Corey, they were in a dynasty. I mean, it was the end of their run. They had been good since 1962, and this was the end. Everybody just kind of thought they'd roll on and kind of go back, to being a normal team, whatever, but something fundamentally changed in college football, and it has just not been the same. And then, of course, their antics around COVID and everything with Scott Frost, it's been a little disappointing. So, anyhow, the reason why I'm on here today is I've got a couple different things that I need to do for my my health coach certificate that I'm working on. So one, this was a little bit old, but I wanted to save it. This was from last week. Sticky notes I got for myself that I wanted to save from last week, and I wanted to combine it with this one because this one's pretty important, and it's something that I think I can actually literally coach people on. So what I want to kind of hit on today is a little bit of the process as to how I got involved, really got involved as almost in a religious aspect with politics in the last 4 years. Meaning, when I say religious, I did something I did every single working day. There was other parameters. I didn't do it on weekends, and I didn't do it on holidays. I gave myself a break. What am I referring to? There's a few different things that I did that I started doing. So right after the election, I was pretty pissed off 4 years ago, and I ended up looking up a group called Indivisibles, and they had taken a lot of lessons from the right in how they interacted with their local politicians and little things that you can do to be much more involved. And if we get enough people to act this way and change their habits, we can change the world. It doesn't take that many people, honestly, in politics to make it happen. You just have to have loud voices or very consistent voices because they keep track, right? So it's just if you just get a few people, few dedicated, a percent or two of the population, and really just drive a couple messages home and relentlessly call and relentlessly do what you got to do, you can get things done. That's what normal people like yourselves, I guess, don't maybe necessarily understand. I'm kind of an anal person. I really keep things straight and picked up, and I know where they are and all that. So I really am good kind of with habit change. I need to have that. That's kind of the only way it works for me. So the message from last week was, and we were supposed to post this on our social media page, but I'm not going to do that because it just doesn't seem right. This seems much more. So it says, when you change your habits, you change your life. And that's right. If you change your habits, you get used to eating ice cream at 6 or sitting in front of the TV or drinking coffee in the morning. We are creatures of habit. So what they say in this training, one of the big movers, if not the big mover, is that if you can change people's habits, you can change their lives, right? So and why is it so important? Because you do it systematically and you do it every day. So you sleep every day, you have to, you're that kind of an organism. We need habits to get through life. It helps us, think more efficiently and do tasks more efficiently and and all that. So habit change. And the other thing was, and this was from this week's lesson, was what stopped you in the past doesn't have to stop you today. So if you don't feel empowered, you feel like you're somebody, I don't care if you're left, right, otherwise. If you want to feel more empowered in the way that you engage our political system, there's just a few things that you need to do. So I may actually have to run out here a second and grab my phone to be able to show you guys. But before I do that, one thing that I want to, a little bit of recommended reading. Recommended reading, Corey. Yeah, what recommended reading you got, Chad? Well, I've got one here, and it's a little bit of a biggie. And a lot of people may be really, really surprised when they see this, but nobody should be. As far as I'm concerned, if you're a red-blooded American, you ought to read this in grade school. If you want to read the U.S. Constitution, that's fine. I say go right ahead. I don't know the Constitution. That I want somebody to tell me like what's going on in the Constitution. And this guy who wrote this book, I'm sorry I had tape on it, and so I actually ripped it, is Dr. Michael Arnheim. He's actually a little right-leaning, and he admits that. But he writes this book for anybody that's interested in learning more about the Constitution. And I'd actually rather read it from somebody who's a little right-leaning, because I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid of where I'm at. So I want to read something that's coming from somebody maybe that's got a little bit of a different perspective. But he doesn't really go there. He actually just talks about the Constitution. He talks about the different articles and things and how amendments have been made, slavery. But he doesn't get into the weeds on opinions. He really just gives a left and a right version and says like, these are some of the arguments for and against, and this is what happened, and this is why it happened. I read this 4 years ago, and honestly, it's given me a lot of solace in the middle of Trump era. Because let's be honest, Trump's a liar, right? I don't care if you're a Republican or not. If you go to a Trump rally and you don't think he's lying to you, you're out of your mind. I mean, did you inject bleach? Do you want me to go down the list and name 50 things that he said in the last 4 years that are just untrue categorically? Because I could do it. If you want to dare me, take this up offline, I'd be more than happy to try and dig some stuff up for you. So let's just call a spade a spade. So in the middle of that, when somebody's lying to you categorically every single day, you know what helps? To understand the Constitution of our country. To know when he's full of crap and when he's not. And you know what? Same goes for Joe Biden. Same goes for any president that we've got. Don't you want to feel empowered? Don't you want to know what they're saying? I mean, at least just at a Dummies level, right? I also read Beekeeping for Dummies. I tried to read Linux for Dummies and I couldn't get through that. I've read some For Dummies books. They used to be Cliff's Notes, but now they actually are kind of cool because they just cover like all this category, all these different subjects very, very categorically. But I mean, it just goes through, I'll give you I shouldn't have to, but I will, a little bit of the contents at a glance. So, part 1, exploring constitutional basics. Then, like, we the people, how the United States is governed. Balancing the branches of government. The Bill of Rights, specifying rights through amendments. Addressing liberties and modifying the government, and more amendments. And then the parts of 10s, and then some other stuff that goes on. And a whole table of contents that goes through, obviously, he goes through the entire Constitution, and he talks about it categorically. Like, you can get this thing for like $20 off the internet, like, or maybe not even that much for a used soft cover. Anybody out there, man, read the Constitution. Like, read the Constitution for Dummies, because it's what our country, it's what the laws in our country work around. And so when somebody says that's unconstitutional, or something goes to the Supreme Court, or something is going back to Congress, and you don't know why, and it just seems like all this white noise, seriously helps. I mean, I knew a lot coming into before reading this book about government generally, just because I'm kind of a political junkie. But this book really, really helped clear things up. So, enough plugging U.S. Constitution for Dummies. Corey, you gonna read it? No, I don't think so, Chad. Really, Corey? Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So, the second thing, kind of the second area that I wanted to cover. What can you do? So you can read the U.S. Constitution for Dummies. That's a nice precursor. That is a political act. Every day you read that, you can check off your box that you did something political that day. I don't care if you just read like a page. you did something political, right? So read more than a page, you know what I mean? So the other thing here, and this is a little bit hard to fit into the booth, but this is my protest sign. So when I go to a protest, I always kind of wear the same thing and people look at me, which is cool because you want to catch their attention, right? So you know me, I'm weird. So I'm going to do something funky. So on this side, it says stay active. So you can like go to a race. You can go to like a political event and be like, stay active. And people are like, what? And you're like, yeah, stay active, get after it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like, but then there's this, and this is the meat and potatoes. So this is the sign, and this is what I want you to know from this night tonight. If you feel so inclined, if you feel like being politically active. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit this frickin' sign on there. Let's see, can I fit it on? Okay, no. So anyway, the sign says, add your members of Congress to your speed dial. So, there's an app. Here, hold on just one second. I'm sorry. I'll talk to you while I'm gone. Okay, I've got my old phone. Now, I'm going to go to the 5. Wait a minute here. Is that right? Talking to myself. 5 calls. So, the app is called 5 Calls. The 5 Calls app. This one is specifically for progressives. Like progressives, I guess you call yourself a liberal. It's going to be in that domain. If you're a Republican or a Trumpist or whatever, I guess go find your own app. But basically, you go to your app, and I've plugged in my zip code. So you just have to plug in your zip code, and then it gives you what topics you could potentially call your local representatives for. So, number 1, you have to know who those people are. So you're going to add your members of Congress to your speed dial. When you find out who they are, you should have 2 senators, every state. I mean, you're going to have a governor, and you're going to have a local representative. And this is to the federal. And you also got your ones for the state level as well. But the nice thing about this app is like it will tell you the number. And if you call and you get somebody, that's great. And then you can mark it like I talked to somebody. But it basically gives you, so if you say, I want to, here, hold on a second. I'm going to get through this and then I'll go through an example. I'm getting ahead of myself. So you'll learn how to add your members of Congress to your speed dial. If you don't know how to do it, you can do that on your own. But I would say use the app, and I'll show a little bit more here in a second. So the second one is download the 5 Calls app, which I already told you to do that. So that was actually I'm really getting out of order here. That was actually the second step, but this is my billboard sign. So, and then use the damn thing and call your members of Congress. That's actually number 3 that you can't see down here. Call your members of Congress regularly, which means basically I put it to myself. 4 years ago, I was up in Minnesota, and I was actually that's where I found out Trump became president. I had supper with my Aunt Sharon and my cousin Sherry in Litchfield, Minnesota the night before, came back, watched the election, and woke up about 2 a.m. and turned on the TV and saw that Donald Trump was president. Tried to go back to sleep for a few hours, got up, and went off to a meeting the next day in Kimball, Minnesota at Arnold's, and had a meeting. Arnold's is an implement dealership in Kimball, Minnesota. So I went on about my way, but that night I ended up down in Fairmont, Minnesota with my friend Corey Ballard and my friend Shannon Jansen. She's not Jansen anymore, but that's what her name was when she was in grade school. Sorry, Shannon. So basically I was just started immediately kicked into, I want to understand where you're at, because I don't understand how people can vote for Trump. I do not get it. I'm not a sycophant. I don't drink the Kool-Aid. I do not need a dictator in my life. I'm a red-blooded American, and if you disagree with that, I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel about it. I'm not going to worship that man ever, not one day in my life. I never have, and I never will. But I wanted to understand where you come from. So I assumed that they were coming from a political perspective where they were like voting for a guy because he was a Republican and he wasn't a Democrat. And that's fair. So really wanted to understand where you're coming from, and got some nuggets and sat across the table, drank beer, talked, watched them be pretty happy about, the election had gone their way, kind of how I feel right now. And And then I went back and I was like, I got to do something. So started doing this. And I put it to myself on that trip after I got done with Corey and Shannon. I went back and I thought a long time, and it's like, I got to do something every single day. Every working day is what I told myself, Monday through Friday, until now, through the midterms and on until that man is unelected. And that is what I did. So I had the ability through 5 calls, essentially to call every day. And so if you're going to do that, it's really difficult to call every single day about something that you necessarily care about. I don't mean care about in a way like that you don't care about it. Obviously, I care about moving the needle for all these issues, but not everything is going to be about farming and infrastructure and railroads. Like there's a lot more things going on here. So, like I said, this is a progressive platform. And so if I went there, and I've got one today, there's 2 top issues today. And these have been here for a day or two. This is not just for today, but I was waiting to do this. So I wanted to show you guys what I would do if I called. You are occupying my actual phone, so I can't call live while we're here. But I can show you what I would do. So I would go in and let's just say, so we've got 2 to choose from today. Demand Congress protect the Affordable Care Act. Yes, again. And that's 3 calls to make. So that's my senators and my representative. That's the 3. I know that. And demand GSA Administrator Murphy stop obstructing transfer of power. I'm guessing that's my representative, Joe Neguse, but it could be somebody else. It could be a local district attorney. It could be somebody else in government. Normally it's not state people on this. Normally it's federal, which is where you get bang for buck by calling them. But if it is a state level issue, that's pretty important to the progressive agenda locally. It makes it under 5 calls. It makes it, and you can call. So let's just take one. Let's go for demand GSA Administrator Murphy stop obstructing transfer of power. Do I know what that is? Not necessarily, but I'm about to find out. So this is my political act of the day. So it comes and it says, it gives you the whole nuts and bolts. If you want to read up about that, boy, just go crazy. Yeah, it's Joni Goose at the bottom. So this is where you may disagree. Like, I pretty much pull the lever. I'm a progressive. I'm ready to go. Like, I don't want to haggle. I want to move the ball. I do not want to haggle over issues. If there's something on there that I'm really not sure about, that I really, really just go, well, I don't really agree with that. I mean, that has happened. And I'm like, I don't think I can make that call. I don't make the call. That's my call. But like, when it's something like this, where it's just some gravy train issue where you're like, yeah, I don't agree with somebody stopping, obstructing the transfer of power at the federal level. I'll just make the call. So I don't even read that stuff. But what I do is I go to my guy on the bottom, Joni Goose. There's his picture. That's Joe. Joe's a good dude. So then it comes up and it says so he's my House of Representatives office. The number there is one that you can glean if you want to start there. That's the one that you can put into your phone. You can do the same thing for your senators. Just go through the app and then add them like that. But basically, if I were to read through this, it's a script. So what I do is I put my phone, and you get used to the muscle memory. When they're on speed dial, if you got to go through a phone tree, you'll know to press 1. You'll just remember that, right? So you don't have to sit there every single time. Or you know which one to get through to get the path of least resistance. Because if you call that number, they may not answer. Or I've had instances where my local representative just categorically didn't answer on that specific line at the Longmont office. So you switch to the Boulder office, or you switch to you just figure it out, right? But you got to do it. You got to be persistent with it. You can't just give up. So let's say I've got a valid number. I get in there, I press 1. I know the phone tree. I know the drill. I start right off and it says, hi, my name is blank and I am a constituent from city and zip. I don't say that. You know what I say? I can do this in my sleep. Chad Pfitzer, 215 Agate Way, Broomfield, Colorado, 80020. Bam. And if you want to waste someone's time on the other side, you go, Chad Pfitzer. P is in Paul, F is in Frank. And you can drag it out because they got to sit there and listen to it. So That's a little bit of a tactic, if you know what I mean, if you want to clog up some phone lines. But Chad Pfitzer, 215 Agate Way, Broomfield, Colorado, 80020. I got a phone call coming in that I have to decline. It buys me time to like start to read the text. It just like comes off the top of my head. It's the way I intro. It's like, if you've ever called me, I say, this is Chad Pfitzer. Like it's just, and that's it. That's just how I answer my phone. That's just how I'm used to doing it it's the path of least resistance for work and family and home and friends and everything. It's Chad Pfitzer. Yeah. So if I got to calling, I'd do the intro. And then I'd say, I'm calling to urge Congressman Neguse to call for an emergency hearings with GSA Administrator Emily Murphy. Refusing to begin the transfer of power to the new Biden-Harris administration is unacceptable and harmful to the health and safety of our nation. Murphy must explain why she's refusing to begin the process despite Trump's clear defeat. Thank you for your hard work in answering the phones. Done. And then you hang up. Leaving a message is the best because they got to tally it and you don't have to talk to anybody. That's kind of what you want. I think. But then it gives you the chance to tally it, and you can tally I left a voicemail so that they know and you know what your track record is. It's almost like working out, how many steps did you take, what's your blood pressure, all that kind of thing. So you mark it as to like what your act was that day. If you did make contact with somebody, because sometimes you do talk to people during business hours. If you call after hours, you're not going to get a hold of anybody. But if you call during business hours, you could get a hold of a live human being. In the last 4 years, it's been tough, especially the further along we've gotten. I've almost always gotten voicemail. They've just been stacked up. People have been calling in left and right, and that's what happened in the last 4 years. But if you marked unavailable, you just literally can't get a hold of anybody. You could mark it as unavailable. I don't know if they adjust it or not, but that rarely ever happens. So then if you feel like you want to get on a tear and go back, you mark that one. That one gets marked up as done. So as I go through, you can see all the check marks next to the ones that I've done. I've still got a couple there. Support statehood for Washington, D.C. Passed the House. Do I want to call on that? I suppose I could. Do I care if D.C. is a state? I guess. Give us 2 more, left-wing senators, which would be awesome. But it'd be balanced out. 50 is a nice round number. I don't know. Then we would add Puerto Rico or something. I don't know. Anyway. See, I just questioned one. You don't have to just pull the lever. You can actually be like, I don't know if I really believe in that or not. But do I believe that Congress should protect the Affordable Care Act? Yeah. Hello. Not sure where all that's coming from in the middle of a pandemic. But if you go look, there is Michael Bennett, Corey, short timer, lame duck Gardner, and our friend Joe Neguse again. So you see how it works? It's really very, very simple and very straightforward. So, again, I cannot emphasize, read the Constitution, please. It's literally the backbone of our country. What the Bible is to Christianity, the U.S. Constitution is to the United States of America. So, hoorah! And then also, you don't have to wear a sandwich board or anything. But do add the members of Congress to your speed dial, download the 5 Calls app, and then use that baby. And again, I'm going to reiterate. What stopped you in the past does not have to stop you today. Get politically active. And when you change your habits, you change your life. And when you change your life, you can change the world. Because you're going to show other people how to change their lives too. And you should do it, man. It's time. We have an election coming up. The election's not over. The presidential election is, and most of the races are, but we still have the ability to flip the Senate in Georgia. And this country needs it, folks. And I don't care if you're a Republican listening to this or not. We need to change the country. We're going crazy. We're all going nuts with where we're at. We have to get off dead center. It's not the 50s, and we need to move on. We got to do something different. And don't even get me going on where religion belongs in the middle of all this. Separation of church and state is all I gotta say. That's in here. Live it. You can believe what you want, but you shouldn't bring it into this. It's commingling. It's bad. Anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, Georgia has 2 Senate seats available. and they could use some money. You're not going to be able to vote, I guess, unless you're in Georgia. Go for it. That's great. Please definitely vote. Vote with your conscience. But everybody needs to get out, and the Democratic Party is going to need some help. And if you want to go as far as make phone calls, you can probably do that too, if you can listen to a lot of Southern accents. But honestly, the easiest thing to do is send in, I don't care what you got, $5, $10, $20. We're probably going to cut a check for $500, $750. Send it to Georgia. Send it to the Democrats to try and win the House, or try and win the Senate. Try and win Congress, to try and get things moving off dead center. We need a mandate. We need to fix our climate. We need to build our infrastructure, and we need to fight COVID-19. And we need some serious people in government right now. Or, bad things are not too far distant on the horizon. If you think this year's bad, just wait till climate change comes home to bear. Anyway, right, Corey? Right, Chad. Talk about a derecho, buddy. Right? Sure. We're going to have a derecho exit. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, Corey. Oh, God, no, Chad, no. All right, with that, I think we are on our way. I think we're on our way out of here. All right. Everybody go get politically active. All right. Love y'all. We're going to...